Have you ever had an autofocus you just couldn't quite tame? Well, that's this. And this is the first video of a channel that is being built to try and generate some connection between people, being myself and yourself. Look, I've just got some notes off screen here. I've got a week's worth of videos, I guess, to account for. Look, it is true that most of this channel presently is screensavers. Some of it is musical backgrounds for study and homework. I don't know, study and homework, sleep, peaceful stuff. And yeah, just a range of video clips and that. Probably a lot of benchmarking video clips on testing of drivers, testing of frame rates and stability of new release games that came out this week. Also just comparisons of game on PC versus console, and just from a conscientious consumer point of view, maybe giving some consideration to the value for money that is found on each platform, and possibly the direction that PCs can go in with, well, 2.5 times more on a graphics card. What will they do over consoles? And so maybe what we can do with the scalability, what we can expect in games. So they're probably upcoming videos, more so. Look, I did want to cover a lot of issues, in particular with one game. That will be a different video. I've got pages of hints and cheats for how to make it work a lot better. Yeah, and I guess some technological check-ins. I'd like to find out, obviously we've got the RDNA 2 chipset, which is believed in the latest generation of consoles. It's quite modified on the PlayStation side of the coin. It's not what we call full RDNA. It had a lot of development input from Epic, the makers of Unreal Engine, in terms of what their needs would be on the graphics part. Also, I think the clever engineers at AMD may have, look, my belief is that a large part of what was RDNA 3, which is the early Z cull, so it's basically where the video card looks, what do I need, what do I not need? If I'm not going to need that in the final frame, there's no point sending that data down the pipeline to have all the ray tracing performed on those pixels. We can save a lot of headroom if we don't do that. And AMD predicted it's about a year and a half ago, they got early news on the RDNA 3 benchmarking. They figured that the chip design was good for about an extra 50%, equal to the generation before it. So it was going to be very effective because of the technology that was in it for the early Z cull. Now, this is not new technology, it's been around since about the year 2000. Power VR, I think, was the initial version of it to the market. Apocalypse 5D might have been some of the cards that came out that didn't sell very well. Packaged with Wipeout, it's great on PC. Power VR has been in our phones for a long time. It's great for sipping power on the basis that it does complex video card rendering, but ideally only on the pixels that you're going to see on the screen. And by just doing that little bit of office work or housekeeping prior to processing the data, it makes the chips so much more effective. So is the early Z card that is found in the PlayStation 5 in its highly modified RDNA design, what advantage does it have? And we can always argue the advantages of consoles, basically a platform where programmers know exactly what's in it and can optimize every scene of a game to push just as many triangles as the chip can handle before it starts choking and bottlenecks and therefore slows down. You can squeeze everything out of a consistent platform, and PCs don't have that. PCs are you just brute force whatever the programmers write. You just go, look, I've got enough grunt, I can run that, and it'll make it look good. So what happens now when we're at the pinnacle of technology and we're in this transition stage of what can we do with all this extra grunt on computers? At the moment we're doing it's basically ray tracing. We're kind of moving past that. NVIDIA want to sell us Tensor Core, some sort of an artificial intelligence in our video card that they're having a really hard time utilising in proactive ways. And they're kind of reaching out for people, hey, come up with more ways for us to use our AI, and that's going to be the pathway they're going to go down. And based on physics and various things in the past where they've taken this the technology in the market and not done it the due diligence, not done it the work it deserves, and we've lost the technology. We do find that the other side of the coin to NVIDIA is a company called AMD. They are very, I want to say market friendly. They're the nice guys. I mean, they're basically based off a company, ATI, a Canadian graphics card company, and just had nice ethics, good quality. Fell out of the race a little bit about 15 years ago when the company they were competing with, probably an 8 to 10 times operational budget for money, decided to do a strategy in the market that was going to cost them a lot of money in staff, but it meant that they had better drivers for a good 10-year run. It was basically they chose to optimise every game on a per driver basis. They needed to. What then happened is about 3 generations ago, with the launch of the 1060 cards by NVIDIA, there was something that wasn't right, and the cards, the series before it, were being deprecated way too quickly. And basically what had happened is that there's a decade of NVIDIA tweaking games on a per game basis for, okay, you need a long shader here and a short shader here, and if we give that a long shader, we can do 2 of them per pass. And as long as they did that, they could optimise, or as we find out nowadays, de-optimise games by about a 10 or a 20% performance margin. And if you take about 10% away from last year's game by not optimising its shader paths, and you don't take it away, you just don't get to future games, people don't know. So look, NVIDIA's used a lot of black boxes over the years. They've used little software paths in software that in code that nobody can really see what's going on. And sometimes techies like myself keep them honest by giving them updates on the net and saying, hey, that's not right, that's not benchmarking right. And then they apologise and go, oh, we're sorry, we didn't mean to make that way too math heavy in a way that just hurt the competitors' video cards. But they do mean it. And the future that NVIDIA will take us down is not the pathway for the market. Mostly because they're going to get beaten at their own game by Intel if they try to go down an AI path. And consumers are too easily misled. The conscious consumer is what essentially this channel should be about. This was more to be an intro. It's not meant to be a discussion about Arduino 2 versus Arduino 3. That is another video, and it will go in depth. And we'll look at some specific things that will show us what to expect in the upcoming 7 years or so with the current console generation. Plus the Arduino 3, the new video cards out by AMD. But in terms of a strategy with NVIDIA and Intel, so Intel can just come in and clean up on an AI front. Look, Intel don't stand a chance. You don't run an Intel graphics chip. What people don't understand is it's not the benchmark frame rate, it's the low frame rate, it's the frame stutters and judders. So when Intel seriously came to the video card market in the last couple of years, they had to put a lot of work into the drivers team, and it was a shock for them. They're like, oh my god, we've got to go back to games 20 years ago and actually get our drivers sorted out in ways that we never have, because we've never really been serious as a video card company. Sure, there's a GPU built into most of our CPUs, and most people in the world are happy having their tablet and one little chip do everything. And so in that regard, Intel have always gotten by making serviceable video cards. But if you were going to play intensive graphics game, if you didn't care about your frame rate and you're happy playing Minecraft, an Intel graphics card will get you out of trouble. And don't get me wrong, I'm the kind of guy I thought I'll use one. I had an i7-30, 770 a couple of years back, and I was sending from my PC in the bedroom, I was sending the graphics to the TV in the lounge room. The TV in the lounge room was a plasma and it could do 3D, and so I wanted to send 3D images, playing Tomb Raider. And I could actually send a left and right altered image video feed down the Steam. Actually, I think I was using a remote link to access it. And in the Steam software, one of the options was use the video acceleration aspects of your hardware graphics processing to accelerate making the feed. So here's what I had: I had these dual video cards that were dedicated to running the game, and if I had to give up any of their performance to also recording their output footage and then sending it down my network so I could see it in the TV in the next room, I was losing a couple of percent of frame rate, and it was just more than I had. I'd tweaked the game to within an inch of its life to just get me the requisite frame rate I needed for good 3D, and I wasn't willing to lose a couple of frames. So first time ever, I went into my motherboard BIOS and, not first time ever on a motherboard BIOS, but first time I went into that motherboard's BIOS and turned on the graphics processing part of my CPU, which had always been turned off just for thermals. And yeah, by adding another video card and then dedicating it to doing the hardware encode, I actually kept my frame rate at absolute full spec that I could achieve. And it really just comes down to clever use of hardware, and that's what this channel will be about. As I say, I've got a few pages of notes here. I kind of want to drop them in this video. I figure I've got about 4 minutes left on a 15-minute video, which I'm told is actually the good amount of time for people to have maybe a break. Maybe you'll start dedicating time for me once a week. You'll check in for 15 minutes. Look, I'm in Australia. I'm offset to the rest of the world. By time at this time of day, I could be reading news headlines, I could be recapturing the week. Must admit, I don't like doing that. You'd probably find if you were getting my daily video, its news information will be ideally out of date by 16 hours. I don't like to, right before I do these videos, just give myself a bombardment with information. I like to be here, be present, be here for you. I say that looking at my notes in my control. So look, there is so much stuff to cover in this last week. If you go out and check my other videos, that's the whole reason for this channel. I'm just making them in a way that if I get a connection with people, that I can get information out there in useful and practical ways. So not really sure what we've got upcoming in the, generally tech. I'll be happy to talk about it if anyone wants to send in questions. I'll be happy to address them. I really want to look at the RDNA 2 versus RDNA 3 performance. Is one of my early videos to check out. Before that, we'll be tweaking Hogwarts Legacy. Obviously, people are saying it's not running the best on PC. It is fantastic. It's an exceptional piece of software. It is an open world game. It is a role-playing game. It's launch week for, it's with launch month for an open world role-playing game. So there's gamers out there that still somehow think that's a genre that you buy and you start playing the day you get it. But PC gamers are like, we're this small percentage of the market versus the millions and millions of consoles out there, so we don't get optimized software. Arguably, we do. The software's optimized, but it's not optimized for our specific build. And open world games are the hardest genre to run. So there's people out there that are getting caught out and they don't know it, and it'll be, their mouse is taking a bit of CPU power, and their old budget SSD drive that uses the CPU to compress and decompress data that benches the same and everything else until your CPU is fully loaded, and you're trying to have it render your minimum frame rate as well, like it's responsible for getting your frame delivery done, and then you go, I've got no more CPU left, my video card's choking, and my solid state drive needs to load a graphic, and so there's a lot of people out there having complete bog downs. I'm playing with drivers, latest drivers, giving feedback to the video card companies in terms of changes I'd like to see in the game, like turning anti-aliasing off as an option would be good. So look, there's a lot to talk about with regards to tuning that game. I've got 2 or 3 pages of notes, especially anyone who's upgraded their game. There's 4 files in particular that benefit if you delete them. A lot of the problems go away. I also found some benefits with turning the page file up in size. It mitigated a lot of the streaming issues. And someone who's benchmarked a lot and watched it easily up to 14.5 gig RAM, 15.5 gig RAM after the update. It's like, well, they're improving it. They're trying to make it really use what you've got. There's only so much they can do. And yeah, so what I'd like to look at is RDNA on a PlayStation with its early Z-Color versus the PC version. And in Hogwarts Legacy, good example, the final room has, of the opening dungeon before the opening credits roll, there's a slowdown, and you'll drop by about 30% of your frame rate if you're running. You'll see it, it'll chunk. And in this particular room is a portal. Now, the nature of an early Z-Cull is that if on a PlayStation you run around that portal, it shouldn't have to think about all the graphics in the other room that you can only see if you're standing over here. I love to benchmark that scene on, and I've got an RDNA 2 card. I'd like to compare that versus the PlayStation and just look at respective performance, amongst other things. Look, that is our time. This is just an intro video. Hi. Well wishes with wherever you are in your day. May you enjoy it. I hope your break's been peaceful.